Hello, that ended abruptly. Hello, welcome along. My name's Dan Simpson. It's Saturday, the 6th of February, and we've got a big weekend of sport on our hands. Test cricket, Six Nations rugby, Premier League football. You've got the Super Bowl as well. Nothing more important than what's happening here at Adams Park today. Wycombe take on Nottingham Forest. It's a huge game. For me, this is what we're in the Championship to do. These are the teams we are here to play. I know it may be quite hard to really appreciate that at the moment. It's been a tough week, hasn't it? It's always worth keeping in your mind, though, that this is why we worked so hard to get promoted. This is what winning at Wembley was about. It's about taking on European Cup winners, Nottingham Forest, teams like this, teams not too far away from us in the league as well. I mean, Forest, just 5 places between us. They've won 3 of the last 5. They beat Coventry 2-1 away in their last game. Now, listen, you can see the team news just under the ticker below. If Bayo makes an appearance today, it is his 200th appearance for the Blues, for the Chairboys. So here's what I want to know from you in the comments, if it's all right. Very easy. What's your favourite Bayo memory? For me, the moment where I really realised that he was going to become something for us. Do you remember the winner that he scored against Exeter in 2016, it would have been? Came on. Was one of the last minutes. It had been a very nervy game. It looked like it was heading for a point apiece, and the ball came in from Jacobson. How often have we seen that since then? He took it on the chest, unleashed the volley that we all wanted Bayo to see. That's why he'd been brought in. I mean, upon reflection, it did take quite a wicked deflection, but that's my favourite Bayo memory. And of course, when we got promoted to League One up at Chesterfield, him running up and down with the fans, getting everyone into videos. So what I want to see from you in the comments, if it's okay, is your favourite Bayo moment. And I'll pull them up in just a sec. Hello to Sue McLeod. Hey, Sue. Yes, that's right. 3 points. That'd be the start, wouldn't it? Of a fantastic weekend of sport. Also, hello to Stuart. Hello, Stu. Have you seen the new Nutella beer, by the way, Stu? Looks pretty impressive. Yes. Come on, the mighty Blue Boys. Hello to... Oh, Sue as well. Yes. The Rock, the elbow drop. Bayo has been one for immense celebrations as well. He started quite a few of these with Luke when 09 was here, didn't he? And the people's elbow really was up there. So, yeah, I'd love to know your favourite Bayo moments, if that's okay. Drop them in the comment box below, and I will pull them up on screen. First, let's get some team news with Tom Baldwin, who is in situ in the press box for us. Hello, Tom.
Good afternoon, Dan. How are we doing?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's 2 changes for the Blues, it looks like, and you know, on the back of 2 strange performances. Take us through the first 11.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, welcome back to the press box at Adams Park as Wycombe take on Nottingham Forest this afternoon. It's a lovely sunny day, I have to say. I was just saying to Jake to the left of me that normally we come in on evenings, but to be here on the afternoon is fantastic. And we're hoping for a bit more of an interesting encounter compared to the Birmingham game last time out, where chances were at a premium. Of course, Ryan Alsop did produce a mega performance, and I'm sure he'll be hoping that he can produce some of those antics again. So, yeah, onto Forest, onto today's game. It's another crucial February game as they start to come around thick and fast. Forest, as you mentioned, come into the game 19th and on 29 points. And they're another one of those teams, one of those crucial teams that are in and around us, or in and around us. And of course, we played them back in November, where they just managed to beat us 2-0 with Lyle Taylor at the double that day. He's certainly my man to watch today if he's starting, but I haven't actually looked at Forest's team.
I can tell you now, he's not starting. He's on the bench.
Well, there you go. That's pretty good for Wycombe, to be fair. And then, as you mentioned there, in the previous game, Forest beat Coventry 2-1 after a goalless draw against Barnsley. And they were on the end of a 5-1 thrashing to Swansea in the FA Cup 4th round. So their form has certainly picked up recently. It is worth mentioning, as we did last week with Wycombe's transfer window, I'll just touch briefly on Nottingham Forest's January transfer window. They had a relatively quiet one. They recruited 2 players, James Garner on loan from Manchester United and Glenn Murray on a free. I've just seen him warming up in front of me today. Notts Forest manager Chris Houghton, he's formerly of teams at Brighton, Newcastle. He said midweek that he won't be taking this encounter with the Chairboys lightly at all. He's been full of praise for the journey that Wycombe have been on in the last few years. And as for Wycombe, obviously we had a few good debuts against Birmingham as well, from Abita and Obafor. And I'll be hoping they can kick on today as well. I actually did go behind enemy lines this week to see who Forest had actually picked out as Wycombe men to keep an eye on. And they picked out 4 men. Ryan Alsop, of course, after that fantastic performance against Birmingham. Josh Knight, Fed Onyedina and Uche Ikpeazu, who will hopefully be lifting Wycombe to a victory today. So as you mentioned, let's get into the team news for Wycombe. I'm delighted to report that it's almost an entirely fit squad today, with Joe Jacobson and Dom Gate having returned from training. Onto the team sheet, and in particular, the main team news today is that there are 2 changes to the lineup. Daryl Horgan is back after a spell out of the side, and David Wheeler returns. And both those players are replacing Admiral Musquay and Curtis Thompson. In terms of the full lineup, Allsop starts in goal. He was in the EFL Team of the Week this week, and also actually signed 5 years to the day as well. So we're hoping he can produce a mega performance again, just like he did against Birmingham. Then we have Jack Grimmer, Ryan Tafazoli, David Wheeler, as I mentioned. Uche Piezu starts, hoping to continue that reign of good form. Matt Bloomfield captains the side today, Josh Knight. And Daryl Horgan returns to the side. Fred Onyedinma starts again, and the 2 debutants from the last game, Jordan Abita and Namdi Ofabor, continue to start in that starting 11. As for notable players in the starting 18, we look at Gareth McCleary, who made his debut against Nottingham Forest this time back in November. And there are 2 players who dropped outside of the team. That will be Scott Cashgate and Dom Gape. Scott Caskett's to my right, and Dom Gape I saw warming up just earlier with some of the fitness staff. So yeah, it's looking like a positive lineup today.
Yeah, I think so. It must be interesting how to play this after the last 2 results, because I mean, against Brentford, we looked like we could do anything in attack, but we're struggling to keep them out. But then here against Birmingham, it was the exact reverse. We put so much work into keeping a clean sheet that it was kind of like we forgot how to attack at points. What do you make of how we would go for it today? I mean, Horgan starts, a ball-playing midfielder. We've still got Bloomfield captaining the side, a bit of nitty, a bit of gritty, someone that's been there, someone that's done it. And obviously, we want Uche Piezu to get 3 in 3 league games. How do you see it kind of playing today, Tom?
Yeah, with Bloomfield, you get a lot of energy, high intensity. He never gives up running, does that man, Mr. Wycombe. And as for Daryl Horgan, it's great to see him back into the side, actually. Certainly at the beginning of the season, Daryl had a great reign of form. I remember actually being here for the first game against Rotherham, where in, I think, the opening 3 minutes, he accidentally skied one over the bar for about 2 yards out. And he certainly had a good start to life in his Wycombe shirt. So yeah, I'm hoping Daryl can have a big effect on the game today. So it's great to see him back in the lineup. And you mentioned there Uche Piezu. He has just been almost a man possessed. It's been great to see him back in such great form for Wycombe, scoring against Brentford with that pretty much a worldie, going past a couple Brentford players and it slot it into the bottom hand corner. So he'll be hoping to reproduce some of that form today. And yeah, I do you know what, I'm feeling positive about this one, even though Notts Forest actually come into the game on some quite good form. In terms of Forest lineup, actually, they're missing quite a few players in Sam Basso, Ryan Yates, Harry Arter, and Yuri Ribeiro now returns from a suspension.
But still, you talk about that, Tom. They might be missing players, but when I look at their starting 11, I mean, it's a huge who's who of big championship names. Luke Freeman starts, Anthony Knockaert starts. Wycombe fans won't be happy to see Glenn Murray start. He played here against Glenn Murray tends to do quite well around us. He played here again for Watford earlier on in the season, and we kept him quiet that day. He came on as a sub, but he lines up number 25, leading the line for Nottingham Forest, which we don't really like. On the subs bench for Nottingham Forest, Carl Jenkinson obviously used to play for Arsenal. I think they've got him permanently now. Tyler Blackett as well, played for Reading in the Championship, and Lyle Taylor, who I don't really want to see come on.
Yeah, exactly. And going through that side, you mentioned so much Premier League experience. They've got former Brighton defenders in there. They've got you mentioned Lyle Taylor, Carl Jenkinson, former Arsenal. Jack Colback's coming to the side after a spell out due to injury, and they really need him because they were missing loads of central midfielders. Harry Arter being one of them, former Bournemouth, and so his presence will certainly be useful during the game, plugging gaps left by some of those players. And certainly their debutants, James Garner especially, had such a great game against Coventry. And so yeah, they've done quite well for themselves. But that's what we're in the Championship for. To come up against these great sides who are in and around us, where every little helps, really.
I think you're right there, Tom. Yeah, it's a winnable game today. Fingers crossed. Tom, thank you for joining us up in the press box.
Cheers, Dan.
Bye now. Well, we'll get the proper Nottingham Forest view in just a sec. First up, I mentioned Yves Bayo, who starts on the bench today. If he makes his appearance, it will be his 200th appearance for the Chairboys. So I'm asking for your favourite Akinfenwa moments in the quarters, if that's okay. Toby Large says the winner at Grimsby yeah, fantastic, much-needed goal at the moment, at the time, wasn't it? Alexander Hamilton, not that one, says FA Cup goal against Bournemouth. Yes, another fantastic, very important goal. Alexander, thank you for getting in touch. Who else have we got? Rich Lloyd. This was in the FA Cup, I seem to remember, when Bayo did the diving header to kill the game off. Can't remember against who. I think it was the FA Cup game against perhaps Leatherhead. Is that who we were playing? Sam Saunders scored the incredible free kick. Bayo, fantastic diving header. We haven't seen too many diving headers from Bayo. Struggling to think why, but it's always nice to see him in there. Rich, thank you for getting in touch. Who else have we got that it's nice to say hello to? Yes, Trevor, you're right. It is nice to see Horgan back in the squad. Yeah, fingers crossed for a good football match. I think we're all due one of those. So it's Wycombe taking on Nottingham Forest, 24th, take on 19th, kick off in half an hour's time. Let's get the view of someone from the opposition end. George Harby is a Nottingham Forest correspondent, and I believe he's in Adams Park today. George, how are you finding it?
It's very warm. I left Nottingham this morning. It was absolutely chucking it down. So I've come prepared with a big coat, and I've had to take it off straight away because the sun's absolutely gleaming. I'll show you now, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it is nice, and the sun is gleaming. And I know because of COVID regulations at the moment, you can't really stray too far from where you are. But you have picked probably the sunniest point in the whole of Adams Park there, mate. So you are going to get blinded, I would say, through the game. Listen, I was just talking with Tom about your starting 11 and how it's a who's who of championship names, really. I mean, Luke Freeman, Joe Worrell, Knockaert and Glenn Murray. Are you a bit surprised with that side that you're kind of flirting with relegation this season?
Well, it was a difficult season at the end of last season, because they missed out on the playoffs last game of the season, which was absolutely agonising. So I think the board decided, you know what, we're going to go one further this year. And they brought in some really experienced players, as you just said then. That's only one of 14 who arrived in the summer. And obviously, only one of them signings was made by Chris Hughton. So it took a little bit of time for Hughton to get used to that many players, of course. And now he's at January, and now he's had time to work with them players. We're starting to see a bit more from what he wants from his team. They've only lost one of the last 9 games, Forest have. So a corner is being turned. But as you say, the league position hasn't really increased so much. And even though we've been beating teams like Coventry and picking up points against teams around us, the gap hasn't really increased. But I'm expecting a good game today. I remember the game back in November. Wycombe, I don't think they're pushovers, and I think a lot of people, with respect, thought Wycombe would come into this league and be, an easy team, but they were tough not to crack, and I think they give a good game today.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, aside from a couple of games, last Saturday being one of them, we've not really been blown away so far this season. And it was what, 2-0 up at your place. So yeah, I think we are in for a good game. Now, you mentioned Chris Hughton being in charge now and 9 unbeaten. You're starting to turn the corner. Hughton is known as someone who kind of gets teams out of this league. If you're starting to see the fruits of his work on the training ground, what really is that, George? How are Forest playing when they line up with those championship names? What are we expecting to see on the pitch today?
Well, I think first and foremost, he's made them a lot more solid. I think the return of Joe Worrell's really helped that, because he was out injured for the first few weeks of the season, and we rotated with a lot of defensive lines. But Joe Worrell has made Forest a lot more solid. Obviously, bringing in his own players in recent weeks, he can get understanding of what he wants to see from his team. But this season, despite all the quality they've got going forward in Anthony Knockaert, Lyle Taylor, Lewis Grubben, Luke Freeman, all these names, they've been struggling to find the net on a regular basis. Now, he's addressed that in January by bringing in Filip Krovinovic and also Glenn Murray, who can obviously score goals at this level. But I think we're still waiting to see in midfield that sort of style of play and that free-flowing football going forward. I mean, they scored 2 goals in midweek and it was a good performance, but apart from that, they don't really like scoring too many goals for us. They're one of the lowest scorers in the division, so I guess with time that will help. But just overall, I think he's made the spine of the team a lot more solid. And as I said, at the start of the season, they were conceding so many sloppy goals. They didn't look like a team, but he's really galvanised the team and made them a lot more united defensively, I feel.
Well, take us back to the start of the season. I mean, for Wycombe, it was pretty easy, and what we wanted out of this campaign, simply to give it a good go, try and stay in the league. What about being a Forest fan? When you line up, when you've made all those changes, when you've had a good, if disappointing at the end season last time out. What did you want to see this time?
Well, I don't think any Forest fan expects to be an immediate fix, but I believe with the quality that was brought in, the experience, we just expected to set the marker early on. But we lost the first 4 games of the season, so it's completely opposite. I think when you bring in that many players, especially with 14 signings over the course of summer, there's so many changes on the pitch that you just lack cohesion. I think in every area of the pitch, and it was a poor start to the season, and we didn't pick up. There was a mini bounce when Houghton did come in. He came in the 5th game of the season, and he won at Blackburn, and then after that, wins were few and far between. So I think we expected Forest to be up there this season. As I said, the owners made a lot of investment in the summer, bringing in these players who are on pretty high wages, and I've won promotion from this league before. So if not the top 2, we're especially looking to see a mount for the top 6. But obviously that doesn't look to be on the cards this season. It's more about just steering clear of danger and pushing for mid-table and see where that brings us.
And if it does bring you to mid-table come May next season, next September, would you expect to have a real good go at it with Houghton, as we've already said, knows how to get teams out of this league? Would you expect to see a real good go next time out?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, there's a lot of players out of contract at the end of this season, but I still get the impression that Houghton will want to rebuild his squad. He's still doing it now. There was a lot of quite fair few departures in the summer. In January. A couple of players who signed in the summer actually got rid of it in January. So I think history tells us that when Chris Houghton has been promoted to this level before at Newcastle and Brighton, especially Brighton, he's gone in when they were struggling towards the bottom end of the table. And the following season, when he had the whole summer to work with his players and bring his own players in, he's took them up. So I think that's the hope amongst Forest fans, that finish this season relatively strongly, avoid any danger of relegation, and then give him the whole summer to get his own players in, get a full pre-season, because let's face it, the pre-season every single club had in this season was pretty much non-existent compared to other pre-seasons. So, and there's a hope that with his experience and his knowledge and his knowledge of getting promoted from this level, there's a onus on him to take Forest up next season.
Well, let's talk more about this game, George. Who's this? Louis, who's got in touch watching on Periscope. I don't know if you can see that. He says, Forest fans should be very unhappy with the starting 11. Can we, Wycombe, take advantage? I mean, how do you feel? Are you unhappy with the starting 11? Do you see Wycombe being able to take advantage of that?
It's a good question. I mean, I think where Forest fans are disappointed are the fact that Grabban, who scored in midweek against Coventry, seemingly out injured and not in the squad, and Amiobi, who set up that goal against Coventry, and he's been quite a key player under Chris Houghton. He's also missing through injury. So Luke Freeman and Glenn Murray's come in. A lot has been said about Glenn Murray since he's come in. I think a lot of fans are unhappy at the fact Lyle Taylor's getting, well, not too many first-team chances, but you've got to understand that Glenn Murray is a player who Chris Houghton knows very well indeed. He scored 52 goals in 127 appearances under Chris Houghton in his career. One promotion with Brighton under him, was a key player on that side. So I think it'll be a cagey affair. I think a lot of fans also like as well as Lyle Taylor, they like Alex Myton, who's a young winger, come through the academy, and they think that he should be given more of a chance. He brings a lot of pace. He's quite fearless for a young lad. He likes to take on his man and get down the flanks. And, Luke Freeman, for all his experience and quality at this level, has not really shown it this season, to be honest. And he's been unlucky with injuries. He's lacking a bit of fitness recently. So I can see why Forest fans may be disheartened with the team, but you've got to understand that 9 of them players started in midweek and produced probably one of the best forms of the season against Coventry.
Now, our kind of leading assist maker and scorer in some senses, Joe Jacobson, our left back, isn't playing today, which is a massive bonus for you. But I say that because normally we know how Wycombe are going to try and score. We're going to hope for set pieces. We're going to try and whip it into the box, and if not score from the corner, hopefully get a good head on it. What do we need to be looking out for from the Forest side of things, George? If you are going to score at Adams Park today, how do you expect that to happen?
It's a good question, because I've not been able to give you the answer the whole season. I think when you've got a player like Glenn Murray, who's an attacker, who's just an absolute predator in the 18-yard box, I think when you've got also players like Anthony Knockout and Luke Freeman on either flank, if they put a good delivery in, he should pounce on that and score. I mean, on Tuesday night, both goals came from crosses pretty much. I think the second goal came from Sarge Christie, a lovely overlap. And you've got to remember as well, Christie and Knockout run promotion together at Fulham last season, so they've got a really good understanding of that right-hand side. Christie's end product this season hasn't been the greatest. A lot of fans give him stick not being able to get crossed into the box. But on Tuesday, he put a lot of good deliveries into the box. So when you've got players, as I said, like Murray, who can attack the box, and he's made a living off basically scoring goals within the penalty area, I think that's probably one of Forest's probably biggest threats today. And you mentioned Joe Jacobson. Now I know a lot about him because he used to do well in League Two against Notts County from free kicks, and but I think defensively Forest have been quite solid in recent weeks. And in midweek, they had to deal with a lot of balls into the box from Coventry when they were peppering them in the last 20 minutes, but they defended relatively well.
Right, well, here's the deal, George. You can't say a draw. What's the score going to be?
I was going to go 1-1, to be honest, because I remember how tough Wycombe made it in November. Because I remember at half time, I think McCleary and Akinfenwa came on and completely changed the game, and I thought Wycombe deserved something that day. I really did. It only took a bit of individual brilliance from our Taylor to separate them. So it is a really tough one. I was going to say a draw, but I might have to go for 1-0 Forest. I just think, had they not lost one of the last 9 league games and they were coming into us on a loss, and I'd back Wycombe to win, but I do think Forest are turning the corner. However, they are quite inconsistent. The last time I said that, I predicted them to win. They went and lost 5-1 to Swansea in the FA Cup. So let's see how that pans out. But I'm going to say 1-0 and Joe Worrell header from a corner. But I do think Wycombe have got a good chance of winning as well.
I mean, you're a brave man giving that scoreline when you've not even had the chance to plug anything. But listen, George, I know you're here with a website today. You're a Nottingham Forest correspondent. If anyone is interested in hearing more from you, reading more from you, where can they find your opinions on Forest and the Championship online? Yeah,
so first and foremost, I'm on Twitter, so I'll be doing live updates throughout the game, or key updates. So that's at George Harvey. And then I'm a writer for Football League World and Snap Media, so I'll be writing a match report on there after the game, and then lots of pre-match, post-match reactions. So 3 things about Forest, 3 things about Wycombe, and just give it unbiased, representation and perception of the game, or review of the game. So it all comes through my Twitter. So if you want to look at my Twitter at George Harvey, there'll be plenty to come from me this afternoon.
Brilliant. All right, George. Well, we'll get on that. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the game, but not as much as.
Thank you.
See you later, pal. That's George Harvey there. You heard all the ways to follow what he's saying, what he's writing. A very astute commentator on Forest and on EFL in general. Now you can see the starting 11 there. Just over 15 minutes till kickoff. Wycombe Wanderers take on Nottingham Forest. It's 24th taking on 19th. And Gareth Ainsworth has been speaking with our very own Alicia here, who got quite Paxman on him.
Not made changes today, but Daryl Horgan comes in and David Wheeler. What impacts are you looking for from them?
Yeah, 2 attacking players. It's really tough, Alicia, to keep the same team in this heavy schedule fixture. You've got to keep rotating. I think I saw some Premier League managers saying it's impossible to keep naming the same team week after week, or day after day, really, because of these fixtures. So yeah, Curtis Thompson drops out, and Nambi obviously he's great slotting into his position. David Wheeler comes in, and Daryl Horgan, 2 attacking players. I'm hoping we can get forward. We can have a go at Forest. They've made a couple of changes as well from their midweek victory against Coventry. Chris Hughton, always a good manager. We know what we're going to be up against, but at home, pleased with the result the other night, especially after the game before. It was important to get a clean sheet. Hopefully we can get some points on the board today.
Is this a must-win game?
No, not at all. There's 21 games to go. So we got plenty of games left to play for. It'd be nice to get something out of this one, obviously, because they're one of the teams who've had a difficult season, same as us. But we know with Sheffield Wednesday, Derby coming up, and Huddersfield, and teams that we feel that if we can get a little run together, we can start catching this pack above us. You never know what's going to happen. We are known for our runs. If we can get on a winning run, it's going to be tough. It's the Championship, no one ever said it was going to be easy. But I believe that coming into this patch of games now, we've got a good squad. Jacobson almost back in contention, couldn't get Scott Cashkett in the squad today, So these are great problems for me as a manager. Really hoping we can do something today, like I say. Not a must win, would like to win, and we'll go for the win.
There you go, Alicia Povey getting the gaffer's thoughts there. I've just noticed that Scott Cashkett doesn't make the full squad. Very interesting. Yes, and a bold question there at the end from her. Now, it's Wycombe taking on Nottingham Forest today. Not the first time we've played each other here at Adams Park. We met a few years ago in the Cup. Who is it? Steve McLaren brought Forest to town that day. But obviously, the most famous game between the two came 31 years ago now. 31 years ago at the very first game here at Adams Park, when Nottingham Forest came here to take on Martin O'Neill's Chairboys.
So, as the Lokes Park era ended, after more than 5,000 games, 8 Isthmian League titles, 2 Amateur Cup final appearances, and 23 Berks and Bucks Cup triumphs, the Adams Park years are about to unfold. Appropriately, the new ground was named after the man whose foresight had secured the Wanderers' future way back in 1947. Over £3.5 million has been spent building a stadium up to Football League requirements. A stand with seats for 1,200. Luxury bars. A conference and banqueting suite. Even a gymnasium. And who better to help celebrate the new stadium's opening on August the 9th, 1990, than Brian Clough, the most charismatic manager in football, who brought his First Division stars to town.
I don't wish to say too much because I believe the stadium says it all, except to say to Brian Clough and all his management, thank you very much indeed for bringing their first squad down here to open what we believe is a marvellous stadium. Which says, presented to Brian Clough for the inaugural game at Adams Park, home of Wycombe Wanderers, 9th of August 1990, with our grateful thanks.
Forest, the Littlewoods Cup holders, included England World Cup heroes Des Walker and Steve Hodge. But in front of a delighted crowd of nearly 6,000, the result was a hard-fought 1-1 draw, with local boy Mark West appropriately having the honour of scoring the very first goal ever at Adams Park.
Park was very, very famous, like Yeovil's ground. It had the slope, and it was nice to be manager of the side that last played there, I've got to admit. But this is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and this will gain a tradition all of its own in the next 20 or 30 years. I think the setup it couldn't be better. We're ready to take off. I'm getting reports through every single week about people who have come down here and had a look at the stadium, saying it's better than most second division grounds. This we accept. We've got everything here. We need a football team in the great tradition of Wycombe Wanderers. I would like to continue that on. I would like us to try and get into the Football League, and it's not to become one of the great amateur sides as before, but a terrific professional team.
There you go. The very first game here at Adams Park, the last time, well, one of the last times that Wycombe played Nottingham Forest here. Very quickly before we go, ahead of what might be Adebayo Akinfenwa's 200th appearance for the Chairboys, I've been asking you for your favourite Bayo moments in the quarters, and Kathy Locke has reminded us of the headed goal at Southend. Do you remember that? Wycombe went into that game towards the bottom of League One. We were on a pretty terrible run of form ahead of that, and Bayo popped up with 2 very important goals then, didn't he? And that header effectively sealed our fate as still being in League One for another season. Now, I mentioned that because hopefully we can have some of that magic today. Bayo on Super Bowl weekend, by the way, is on the bench for the Chairboys. Who knows? Maybe it's written in the stars that he's going to pop up with another goal today. Kathy, thank you very much for getting in touch. And thank you very much for watching. Ooh, just over 10 minutes now until kick-off. Wycombe taking on Nottingham Forest. Very important game down towards the bottom of the Championship. Now is the time to go and get your iFollow passes. Keep all your fingers and toes crossed for 3 big points today at Adams Park. And we will see you soon. Bye now. Go on the Chairboys.